Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third session on track 2, where we're going to hear from Asia Lara and Stone Addington from Humanities Washington on the topic of open access to expertise with Humanities Washington's Speakers Bureau. My name is Janine Rockwell-Kincannon, and I am the conference committee member moderating this session. Before I hand things over to the presenters, I want to quickly point out again that we're answering questions at the end of the session, but you can submit your questions anytime by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom bar of your Zoom screen. There's also a chat button that you can use for comments or discussion, or if you're having some technical issues, but please do use the Q&A button for asking questions. And with that, I will pass things over to Asia and Stone. Welcome.
Thank you. We're delighted to be here. I think Asia is going to share our PowerPoint in just a second, but I'm Stone Addington. I'm Director of Programs at Humanities Washington. I'm here with Asia Lara, who's a Program Manager of the Speakers Bureau. And today we're going to talk about access to expertise as an important piece of equitable access to information more broadly. So we're going to kind of start abstract and then get a little more specific as we talk about our program's role in that theme. But first up, I'm going to hand it over to Asia, who's going to talk a little bit about our organization, and then we'll move on from there. You want to take it away, Asia?
Yeah, thanks so much, Stone. So my name is Asia Lara. I'm a program manager of this program that we're going to be talking about today. One second, sorry, I just need to figure out these slides. All right, so yeah, I just like to start off by just giving a little overview of who we are as an organization. We were established in 1973 as the Washington State affiliate for the National Endowment for the Humanities. And our core mission is to open minds and bridge divides by creating spaces to explore different perspectives. We do this through the following 7 programs, and we're going to be talking mainly about number 2 here. And here's just a nice little graphic of our programs at work. And I will toss it back to Stone to talk about access.
Yeah, thank you. Will you go ahead and show those first couple bullet points? Thank you. So I want to say, actually show all of them, if you would, Asia. Thank you. So first I want to talk about access. I think it is an uncontroversial thing in this conference to say that access is good. So I don't want the next few statements I make to sound like they're undermining that fact. I want to talk about, though, about a more robust form of access than mere access. So I want to spend some time dividing between those two concepts in a moment. But I want to think about the sort of cliche point that we all know that the internet has brought this amazing increase in access to all kinds of information. But we've also seen some of the pitfalls of that. We see the magnification of bias through motivated reasoning, like confirmation bias. We see the widespread distribution of things like conspiracy theories, pseudoscientific beliefs, and then just your grab bag of misinformation and propaganda. This has many sources. You might have a lone wolf out there with what they might describe as a degree from Google University. You see this a lot in anti-vaccination debates, things like that. But you also have communities on websites like Reddit and YouTube and other social media places where you have these echo chambers that not only spread misinformation, but also generate it. So they're kind of these engines of error, right? Information is cherry-picked, misinterpreted, and context is lost. Let's see. So we got a comment in the chat that, oh, let's see. I'll leave that to the conference organizers. Hopefully they can see that. Let's see. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, Asia. So I want to talk about a couple of different kinds of access. So I mentioned this distinction, mere access and more robust access. So I'm using the term robust access rather than equitable access because I don't want to imply that what I'm about to say gets us to equity. because that is a goal that this doesn't quite get us to. It's a higher level, a higher standard. Rather, I just want to talk about the next step up from mere access. So mere access information is available. There's no wall standing in your way, but we talked about those pitfalls of knowledge of misinformation. Robust access, on the other hand, you not only have the information, but the guidance to contextualize, to understand, and to reflect on the information at hand. So to do this, we think we need a guide, not necessarily a teacher, but a guide at least, someone with content expertise and pedagogical expertise. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So when we talk about expertise, this is what I mean. Content expertise, depth of knowledge, of course, but also breadth of knowledge and a comfort with the main questions involved with the topic at hand. But this also requires a connective ability. If we're talking about someone who is trying to learn more, then it's not just about having access to someone who's really smart, but also someone who can translate the difficult, translate the abstract into something that's relatable. But also someone who can facilitate a conversation, especially if we're talking about people who might be in error of some kind or might be prone to error, then this ability to maintain and engage a conversation is critical. We also think that for robust access, you need some sort of engagement. You have to meet people where they are, so that audiences, when we're thinking about events, for example, or educational opportunities, it's not just to present the information in any way at all, but in a way that excites people, drives their curiosity, and keeps them engaged. Let's go to the next slide, please. So we think access to experts is really important. It helps guard against certain kinds of pitfalls, like the degree from Google University. It helps interrupt echo chambers because of this engagement, because of this guidance that the expert can offer. It's not just any expert, of course, as I'll talk about in a second. It's one with these specific qualities. So one thing we take really seriously at Humanities Washington is to role the expert to take the flourishing of the individual, of the community seriously, whereas raw information, online argumentation, Google searching doesn't. And this is the main point I really want to make on my section of this presentation, is that expertise is not widely available in terms of access. It's sequestered away from the public. Colleges, universities, positions of power intentionally are, there's some gatekeeping going on that keeps the general public from accessing those resources. So our role at Humanities Washington is to increase that access to expertise, so that it's not just a privileged few who are college students, who know professors, who have that kind of access already, but also to think about communities that don't have a college or university anywhere near them. There's plenty of towns and places in Washington State where we are specifically that aren't within 50 miles of such an institution. We think libraries are our best partner at doing this, so this is why we love to partner with them. Go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So this is our answer to this problem. How do you increase access to expertise? Well, we have this Speakers Bureau program. We have over 30 experts on topics ranging from history of hip hop in the Pacific Northwest to contextualizing rage in American politics. So we have artists, political scientists, philosophers, historians, journalists, people with a wide range of expertise that can connect new audiences to this depth of knowledge in a way that is both engaging and also helpful. So our speakers, as we'll talk about in a second as we get specific, are readily available to travel across the state. They're not only happy to help, but they're willing to drive 200 miles in order to attend or to produce these events. And moreover, our speakers offer these presentations at little to no cost for qualifying organizations, of which libraries are our greatest partner in doing so. Next slide, please, Asia. So before we then get to the specifics, I just want to connect this up. I mentioned that the experts we think are important for connecting audiences with the sort of knowledge or information that we want to increase access to, need these qualities. They need to have content expertise. They need to have pedagogical expertise. This is exactly what we evaluate our speakers for. There's a lengthy audition process that involves a written application, an audition, where the audition is vetted not only by our staff, but most importantly by professors, other content experts, librarians, museum curators, community members, people who know what their communities need and whether this sort of expert will provide them with what they need. And once the speakers join our wonderful Speakers Bureau, it doesn't end there. Every single event is evaluated in 3 ways: survey with the speaker, survey from the audience, and a survey from the host to ensure that we're keeping up the standards we're committed to. So when we think about the sort of impact we want to have on our state, the Speakers Bureau, we think, is one of our greatest ways of doing it by bringing expertise. In a typical non-COVID year, we have over 400 events in every county in Washington state. Even through COVID and pandemic, we have held online events numbering over 200 per year. So we're quite proud of this program, but to get a little more specific about how it works, I'm going to hand it back to Asia.
Thanks so much, Stone. All right, so here's an image from an actual Speakers Bureau event. Obviously pre-COVID, there are no masks. And yeah, so before we get into kind of the specifics about hosting, I'll kind of zoom out a little bit and talk about what the program itself is. So Stone kindly already gave us a little preview into it. It's our longest running and most popular program. As Stone mentioned, it provides free public humanities presentations across the state, and we really try to focus on serving rural or underrepresented areas, particularly those places that Stone was mentioning that are 15 miles or more away from an academic institution. Last year, even with COVID, over 200 Speakers Bureau events took place in every congressional district of Washington state, with over 7,000 total attendees. So there's clearly still a need for this out there, even if we're not able to do it completely in person again. We really try and make sure that this program is benefiting every major stakeholder. So we not only want to make sure we're benefiting community members, we also want to make sure we're benefiting the communities that serve those members. So these are our 4 core goals for the program. Present context so that folks can make informed decisions on challenges facing our communities, increase opportunities for audiences to connect with experts and others with varied points of view. And in terms of how we want to help our partner organizations, we want to help you all grow and diversify your own audiences, as well as increase collaboration between community organizations. So that's just to contextualize a little bit more about the focus of the program. To get into a little bit more of the specifics, Stone mentioned that we have a roster of about 35 presentations at the moment that turns over on a biannual basis. Our current roster will be going through the end of 2023. I am pretty sure. But I wanted to give a little bit of some more concrete examples of what these presentations look like. So right now we have King Kazem, who's the executive director of 206 Zulu, and as well as a community organizer. He's presenting a program called Hip Hop and It Don't Stop. Artist and instructor Deepti Agrawal is presenting a program on the ancient art of Madhubani painting. Local poet Chelsea Richardson is presenting a program called Writing as Self-Love. And historian William Woodward is presenting a program called Will the 2020s Roar Like the 1920s? So that's just a sampling of some current talks that we have. So now let's get into the specifics. How do you host a talk? So our hosting process follows a pretty easy, well-established 4-step process. It all starts at our website, humanities.org. Under programs, you'll be able to go directly to the Speakers Bureau program website where you'll be able to see all the talks we offer and review all of our host guidelines there as well. The second step, you'll be sending your request for speakers to me at speakers@humanities.org. I'll provide you with their contact information so you can schedule directly with the speaker for a date and time that works for you. And the final step, submit an online application. It usually only takes about 5 minutes. So pretty straightforward. As Stone was saying, we just want to make sure that this is some easy wraparound programming to complement the amazing work that you guys are already doing. So in terms of guidelines, these are the core responsibilities that we ask of all of our hosts: organizing the event, assisting the speaker day of, distributing our evaluation survey to attendees for feedback, and then submitting that short evaluation following the event so we can continue to improve our programs. I would like to note, though, that because we are offering both in-person and virtual presentation options, we do have a different set of specific guidelines for each. But again, if you go to our website, there's an extensive list of resources for both formats, just to help guide you from beginning to end without a hitch. So in terms of funding, we really do want to make this as low cost as possible. So the largest fee that's tied to every single event is this $300 honorarium that goes directly to the speaker for their time and expertise. Other associated overhead costs might include, for online events, a video conferencing platform. So, like a Zoom subscription, or for in-person events, we do reimburse our speakers for any travel costs accrued from them leaving their house to get into your event and back. All of these costs, though, we offer funding assistance for, and any Washington State nonprofit organization may be eligible to receive that funding to help offset these costs. As Stone mentioned, libraries are our most popular hosts. I love working with librarians, and yeah, definitely some of our most well-established relationships, and they always are able to, I'm always impressed by how well they're able to generate audiences and generate that conversation in their communities. So please reach out. And I just wanted to put up this quote. I feel like it really kind of wraps it all together and drives home exactly what we are hoping to do with this program for you and for your community members. So this was from an event last year with the KCLS Foundation. And yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Stone, I'll pass it back to you for any final closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much, Asia. So just a couple last notes I'd add before we open it up for questions. Just to clarify, with libraries, we cover those speaking fees and travel fees. Certain other kinds of organizations don't quite qualify, but libraries almost always do. We see this program not just as connecting up expertise, but also as taking some of the load off our libraries in our state, given the time limits and capacity limits, given the number of responsibilities our libraries are tasked with. We hope that this is a program that helps them out. And I want to say, I know we probably have non-Washington folks in this audience, and I want to point out that Oregon Humanities has a similar program called, I believe, Community Conversations, which operates in a similar function. And if you're outside of those two states, check out your local State Humanities Council. They may have a program that works similar to this. I think we have a few minutes here to ask any questions you might have. Just to summarize, we've talked about the importance of access to expertise that we think is a critical component of access to information more broadly. And we think that our Speakers Bureau can help on this front. While we wait for questions, I want to thank you for being here, and also to thank our wonderful conference organizers for picking such a great theme and for hosting us. So we're very appreciative. But yeah, I think we're ready for questions if there are any.
Thank you, Stone and Asia. What a cool program. While we're waiting for attendees to ask, I'm just curious. Now, do you control the registration, or is it the individual organizers, libraries and stuff?
Yeah, great question. So we do require for online events, we do require that registration is made and used. That helps, to avoid any type of Zoom bombing during events. Unfortunately, we've been privy to a couple of those, so we've learned our lesson the hard way. But but it also helps with sort of feedback gathering towards the end. We ask that all of our hosts send out that audience evaluation form for online events. It's usually just a little URL you can copy and paste, but the registration link provides you an easy way of kind of collecting those email addresses and making sure you're keeping that data private inside of your own organization, but still kind of getting that feedback out and back to us so we can keep improving our programs.
So you're handling the logistics of attendee registration and stuff. That's not on the host.
That actually, we did used to do that part until I think it was maybe a few months into doing virtual programming. We did have some hosts kind of come back and say, you know, we actually can't share our patron list outside of our organization.
Sure.
It's a breach of, you know, privacy. And so we kind of, that confidentiality piece. So we kind of restructured a little bit. We just included a bunch of sort of lists of resources that we used when we were doing it, just so that we're protecting that privacy and also trying, you know, taking the load off as much as possible.
Yeah, I will add, we sort of tried to provide really robust resource packages, both in terms of communications and best practices and checklists, especially for organizations that aren't quite used to hosting events, that maybe this is one of their first times doing that kind of community outreach. So we try to provide as much support as we can within the bounds of privacy and those other considerations.
Yeah, I should have also added in my little spiel about hosting on our end of Humanities Washington's end, we help to promote the event via our website, calendar, and our mailing list. We help to get the word out about your organization to our mailing list. I believe we have about like in the 3,000 or 4,000 on our subscribers. So we try to.
I think we're up to 10 at this point, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely underestimated that. But you know, we've heard from a lot of hosts that, you know, even just partnering with us kind of gets their name out to our patron base. And most of them have reported, you know, kind of a growing audience base after partnering with us on these events. So that's always a nice thing to hear back from.
Great. Well, I'm not seeing any questions pop in. So thank you for this interesting profile of your program. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Janine. Thanks so much for having us and hosting us.
Yeah. So we are at our lunch break now. And so the next session on the program is the lightning talks, which will start at 1:20 on this channel on track 2 Zoom link. So go have a nourishing and relaxing lunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.